Well, y'all, in this episode of Historical Markers, we are in downtown Paducah on the waterfront. There is so much going on down here. I hope you stay tuned and you check it out with us. If you've not liked and subscribed to our channel, do that. Comment on these and let us know what you think so we can continue doing them. But so stay tuned for some video from the waterfront down in Paducah, Kentucky. All right, this marker is They Pass This Way. It says, home to thousands of men, women, and children, the Cherokee Nation once spread across parts of Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. The 1830 Indian Removal Act required that the Cherokee and other southeastern tribes surrender their land and move west. I hate this history of it. In 1838, more than 15,000 Cherokee began their migration west from their eastern homeland to Indian Territory, which is present-day Oklahoma, over the Trail of Tears. They stopped by roads and rivers, and stopped in Paducah for supplies, and more than 1,000 died during the journey westward, and more than 4,000 died as a result of their forced relocation. And I'm going to go over the rest of this. You can pause and read. Alright, this is kind of a continuation of the last one. This is a quick stop. It says, with the black scorch of burned riverfront warehouses before them, the Cherokee on drain detachment moored at Paducah in July 1838. The waterfront was still recovering from a great fire 2 months earlier. And this Cherokee detachment had traveled west overland from Tennessee and boarded boats at Waterloo Landing, Alabama, to follow the rivers to Indian Territory. And so I'm going to go over the rest of this, and you can pause and read. Paducah Harbor. The deep protected water between Owens Island opposite and the Kentucky shore has been a major base for commercial navigation throughout Paducah's history. Every type of barge and boat used in the Mississippi Valley has been built, repaired, manned, and supplied here. It was a famous ice-free winter harbor for steamboats from the northern rivers. Ride round the rivers. This unique pleasure boat tour is an 80-mile loop from Paducah up the Tennessee, through Kentucky Lock, up Kentucky Lake, through the Land Between the Lakes Canal, down Barkley Lake, through Barkley Lock, down the Cumberland to Smithland, and down the Ohio back to Paducah. West Kentucky has greatest concentration of major navigable rivers in the world. General George Rogers Clark visited this spot in 1778. General Ulysses S. Grant landed here on September 6, 1861 to occupy Paducah for the Federal Union. And Captain Jack B. Sleeth laid the first successful submarine cable in 1847. It reached from the foot of Campbell Street to Illinois shore. And here we are on the waterfront in Paducah, Kentucky. Down here on the waterfront is this stage that they have a lot of events on, a lot of musical events. And the marker we're looking for is right down here. Little bitty thing. And it's the stage in Riverfront stage is dedicated to Tom Wilson, who initiated the summer festival in 1966 and who made this setting the focal point of the event. For 18 years, he gave his service to this endeavor as chairman of the festival, guiding it successfully as a major celebration for the Paducah area. A veteran of World War II, Mr. Wilson served as mayor of Paducah from 1964 to 1967. For his special dedication to the city of Paducah, this stage is to be known as the Wilson Stage. And there are a lot of events that happen down here, a lot of performances. It's kind of like an amphitheater out here. And so there's a lot going on. Very active place down here on the Paducah waterfront. This is the historic Riverfront. Here, the Tennessee River flows into the Ohio, Owens Island, opposite Kentucky Avenue. There in 1779, George Rogers Clark's small army landed to prepare for its defeat of the British in the Illinois country. In 1780, Colonel John Donaldson landed 30 boats with 30 families that had floated down river from East Tennessee. After stopover, went up Ohio, and Cumberland founded Nashville. Here, Captain Nicholas Roosevelt's New Orleans made port 1811, first steamer to ply the rivers from Pittsburgh to New Orleans. In 1861, Union troops under General U.S. Grant landed here to occupy Paducah for duration of the war. Clara Barton arrived 1884 on Josh V. Throop during American Red Cross's first major flood relief operation. Okay, this marker is for the federal occupation of Paducah, September 6, 1861. We're on the waterfront in Paducah, Kentucky. It says, the Commonwealth of Kentucky may have declared herself neutral when secession of the southern states began, but Paducah and most of western Kentucky took a strongly southern stand. Many of the young men from Paducah enlisted in the Confederate Army and followed Lloyd Tillman, a prominent citizen, into training camps just across the state line in Tennessee. At the same time, federal troops were concentrating in Cairo, Illinois, at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. While the troops blocked escape, two gunboats, the Tyler and the Conestoga, landed at the foot of Broadway. Soon a guard detail found the mayor and escorted him to the Tyler. On board, he was introduced to Brigadier General U.S. Grant. Grant informed the mayor that federal troops were going to occupy Paducah, and that as long as the people behaved and did not interfere with the military, they would not be molested, but would be protected. The mayor was then told to inform the people. A short time later, the mayor was arrested by Brigadier General Payne and held for most of the day, and then released after having received ill treatment at the hands of the general. Grant came ashore and proceeded to the foot of Broadway and Water Street, where he issued the following proclamation. Here's the proclamation. And so there's the pontoon bridge across the Ohio River at Paducah. This is the photo of U.S. Grant and his staff, taken October 1861 in Cairo, Illinois. Do what? Okay. Okay, this marker says this chain secured the Paducah wharf boat until 1930. It was originally used as a stay chain in 1861 in the fortifications on the river at Columbus, Kentucky. It was presented to the city of Paducah in 1987 by the Dismukes family. This marker is for the first log cabin. Here in April 1821, 3 years after the Jackson Purchase, the first home, a round log cabin, was built by James and William Poor. Only a few Indians remained.
James Davis, his wife, and 3 sons built a shelter soon after. In the next 5 years, a score or more settled along the Tennessee River. Town was first named Pekin. This marker is for the first frame house. It was built by Albert Hayes in 1826, a few feet south of here. It had 3 rooms, was quite attractive in those days, and bore the name Fox House. Tradition is that General William Clark stayed here when he platted town, May 26, 1827, and changed its name, Pekin, to Paducah in honor of Chief Paducah. We're still in downtown Paducah, Kentucky, outside of the National Quilt Museum. And this marker here is for Lewis and Clark in Kentucky, McCracken County. Lewis and Clark, with the nucleus of the Corps of Discovery, stayed in present McCracken County in November 1803 while traveling down the Ohio River on their journey to the Pacific. Clark returned in 1827 to establish Paducah. It says McCracken County, November 11th to the 13th, 1803. Lewis and Clark stopped at Fort Massac, Illinois, near present-day Paducah, and recruited men, including Indian interpreter George Driard. On November 13th, they camped in the area of Metropolis Lake State Nature Preserve.
I have no idea where we're going.
On the Trail of Discovery by George London. As Meriwether Lewis and William Clark wound their way westward, they encountered many indigenous people. The Native Americans portrayed here represent those who helped Lewis and Clark during their travels to the Pacific Ocean. The flag that the child is holding and the Thomas Jefferson Medal were gifts given to those original people of America. Taking artistic license, George Lundeen added Sacagawea coins to the ears of the Native American in Paducah to the map held by William Clark. It is interesting to note that in 1803, Meriwether Lewis paid $20 for his Newfoundland dog Seaman, but in 1827, William Clark paid only a $5 transfer fee for the land where Paducah and McCracken now stand. Oh, that's interesting. This is the National Quilt Museum. If you've not been here in downtown Paducah, you need to make it a point to come here. This is the marker we're looking for. It says the National Quilt Museum opened on April 25th, 1991. The museum was founded by Meredith and Bill Schroeder and works to honor and promote the work of today's quilt makers. The museum is a destination for quilters and art enthusiasts, receiving visitors from all corners of the globe. Mayor Jerry B. Montgomery has proclaimed Paducah Quilt City, USA. Second courthouse. First courthouse at Wilmington, 1824 to 32. Second courthouse, a 2-story brick structure, 36 feet square, built near here at a cost of $3,049 on land given by General William Clark, founder of Paducah. Courthouse also provided meeting place for various early churches, replaced after 25 years by Third Courthouse at 6th and Washington. All right, we're talking about the train over there. This marker says this Mikado type steam locomotive is dedicated to Illinois Central men and women, past and present, and to the importance of the railroad to Paducah's history and commerce. Number 1518 is the last iron horse owned by the ICRR. Engines built or rebuilt in the Paducah shops many years until 1960 played prominent role in the age of steam. Continues over here on the other side. The locomotive was donated by the Illinois Central Railroad. Maintenance funds provided under leadership of the Western Kentucky AFL-CIO Area Council. It's sponsored in 1964 by the Parks, Playground, and Recreation Department, the City of Paducah. Grant's Proclamation. On this spot, September 6, 1861, General U.S. Grant read Proclamation to citizens of Paducah, announcing that the Union Army was taking possession of the town to defend you against the Confederate attack. The enemy had taken possession of and planted his guns at Columbus and Hickman on the Mississippi. Union troops moved in, and the U.S. occupied the city for the duration of the war. All right, this marker has fallen off its pedestal, but fortunately it was still laying on the ground. So this is the Battle of Paducah, March 1864. I'm not going to read the entire thing, of course, but on 25 March 1864, Confederate Major General Nathan Bedford Forrest seized the city of Paducah. His purpose was to strike federal forces, break up guerrilla bands, and recover deserters, recruit, and re-outfit his men. And it goes on to talk about his division and what they did and how they fought, and against the Colonel S.G. Hicks and the fort. There's a lot going on here. I do advise you to pause it and read more carefully. There's General Nathan Bedford Forrest. There's a map of Paducah and the original plan of Fort Anderson there. Fort Anderson, Union fortification built 1861 and named for Kentuckian Robert Anderson of Fort Sumter fame. Led by General N.B. Forrest, CSA forces attacked the fort on March 25, 1864, seized supplies, and burned the wharf. CSA Colonel Albert Thompson of Paducah killed. Next day, USA troops under Colonel S.G. Hicks burned homes to clear area of cover for Confederate soldiers. This marker is a Paducah CSA Hero, Colonel Albert B. Thompson. Fell here in Battle of Paducah, March 25, 1864, victim of Union cannonball. He commanded the 3rd Kentucky Infantry CSA. The battle climaxed General Nathan B. Forrest's memorable raid seeking medical supplies and munitions. Thompson, a respected lawyer here, joined the Confederate cause in 1861. After the war, he was reinterred at Murray. All right, this marker is for the death of Albert Thompson. He was born near Murray in Callaway County, Kentucky. And he moved to Paducah and practiced law. And then he joined the 3rd Kentucky Infantry of the Confederate States of America, commanded by fellow Paducahan Lloyd Tillman. And it goes on to talk more about the what happened with the 3rd Kentucky Infantry and his death. He was attacked by an exploding artillery shell from a river gunboat. But there's his picture and his gravestone in Bowman Cemetery in Callaway County. There's a close-up of the inscription. He's buried with his first wife. His tombstone refers to him as General A.P. Thompson, perhaps a posthumous promotion. Posthumous. Y'all give this Southern girl words I can't pronounce. Okay, posthumous promotion. All right, we're doing these murals on part of the wall. These are the Quilt City, USA, which is what Paducah is called. This is their murals. Here's the marker. The Quilt City, USA murals. The title of this one is The Corona 2 Solar Eclipse 1989. And you can read all of the different information there about the eclipse and the quilt that was inspired by it. Okay, and this mural on the wall is another entry of the Quilt City USA murals. And this one is entitled "And Our Flag Was Still There." It's from 2013. Gives the name of the people that made, the lady that made the quilt and the people that did the painting, and gives information about the quilt you can read. All right, this marker is at the Julian M. Carroll Convention Center right on the Ohio River, and it is talking about the flood wall. Paducah's $8 million flood wall was built by the U.S. Corps of Engineers. It's 12 miles long and protects the city to a height 3 feet above the 1937 flood level. The flood of 1937 could not occur again in Paducah because of the flood wall, TVA's dams, and other upstream reservoirs. In all, flood control has cost the TVA almost $200 million. The Ohio Valley flood of 1937 was the greatest natural disaster in the history of the U.S. and drove over 1 million citizens from their homes. When the Ohio River reached its crest in Paducah on February 2nd, 1937, the water stood at 60.8 feet. Over 90% of the city was inundated. 27,000 people were evacuated and damage exceeded $22 million. Well, guys, what'd you think of those waterfront markers? I thought that they were amazing. I learned so much about what's going on down there in downtown Paducah, and just being down there on the river was really, really cool for me. So really, if you've not liked and subscribed, please do that. Comment. Let me know what you're thinking on these videos. I mean, I've been overwhelmed by the history that we're learning. So stay tuned for the next episode of Historical Markers. One of the paddle boats is in the port here at Paducah. They do that quite often. I just think they're fascinating. I just kind of wanted to give you a view of this. We're going to have to take a paddle boat trip at some point. Oh, you want to go on closer? This is the American Heritage. That's the name of this boat. It's a shame we aren't getting to see the wheel moving, but alrighty. Very cool, very cool. Well, guys, that wraps it up for McCracken County here in Kentucky. I have just loved doing this whole series of videos. There's so much history here. We had to break it up into different videos, and I think that that's amazing. They have done a great job here in McCracken County of documenting with markers their history, and I think that that's fantastic. So let me know what you thought of the entire series, and stay tuned. We're going to explore Kentucky just a little bit more, and in the future we're going to branch out in maybe to some of the other surrounding county states to Illinois. So stay tuned, subscribe if you've not, and hope you enjoyed this episode of Historical Mark.